All right, so we're out here by our pond. Used to be an old dairy here. Many years back, we had to abandon the dairy and turn it into horse stables to try to save the farm. It, amongst many other things, are what kept this thing alive. So, back in the day, there used to be a manure pond for the dairy, and it's still here. It's still functioning. Well, functioning, holding water. however functioning that is. But so I had an issue to deal with Stallbush Farms. They are farms over there by Corvallis, and they have a cannery, and so they do washing their stuff, and they have a bunch of waste. And in their waste removal program, they run all their stuff through a giant digester. The digester pulls the methane off the top of it and uses it to create electricity. That runs their plant, and I do believe they even sell some of that electricity back to the Corvallis grid. So that digester, after the liquid has gone through the digester, it comes out the other side, amazing fertilizer. But they don't do this until like October, September, and so they can't just go put it out in the fields. Otherwise, it'll run into the creeks and streams, and we have issues. The EPA or fuck ever doesn't like that. And so they look for places, storage ponds, to be able to go out there and put a bunch of it for storage. And then the benefit is next year, if I can pump out of my pond and pump that out on my fields, we're gonna get a much better product. We're gonna get a much better crop, better yield, better everything. And then doing that too, there's some other little interesting things that we gotta skirt around too, is since they're bringing liquid out here, I will be able to irrigate more than 50 acres. I have 50 acres of irrigation rights, so I'm allowed to take 50 acres of water out of the creek and irrigate with it. But if I mix that with what I have here in the pond, and then I'll be able to do more than 50 acres. Not sure exactly all the procedures that go around that. But today, so right now, what we're gonna do, it's a big project. I've already kind of mowed around the outside edge of the whole pond, all the way around the whole thing of it. And so today, what I'm gonna do right now is with the telehandler, there's the telehandler. The telehandler, we're going to go ahead and push all these blackberries somewhere out of the way so we can like see the pond and get to the pond. I just got Tom brought us a 3-phase generator from his dad's old dairy down in California. Oh, look at this hummingbird. Can we see it? No, it went away. There's a cool hummingbird right there. I love being out here. So so he got a 3-phase generator from his dad's dairy down in California. Not a dairy anymore, hasn't been for a long time. They sold most of the land, but they have a bunch of the equipment. So like the mowers from here, the rake and the baler from him, and then he gave us a 3-phase generator, which is fantastic because it'll run my 3-phase 40 horsepower irrigation pump, which usually just hooks up down at the creek. I've got 3-phase brought in there, and so we just hook it up there and pump out of the creek. But last year, with the drought issues we've been having around this climate, I was actually able to pump the creek completely dry. Well, everything I have access to, I could pump it further than it was coming downstream into my little reservoir where I pump out of. And so my Traveler was shutting. Well, my Traveler would keep running, but the irrigation would stop. And when you have a Traveler, the way that it works, we'll go over that later. But it's not. It's a pain in the ass. It really does. I end up with a bunch of dry spots, and it's just really hard to stay on top of irrigation. You want your fields to be wet and stay wet and grow fantastic. And if you have issues, it's not fun. Having a whole bunch of water storage means that I can do, because I do about 12-hour pulls, a time. I do one a day. So I just wake up in the morning and start my irrigation, because it's not reliable enough to just run all night and trust it. Newer, fancy irrigation systems can definitely do that. But what we have here needs to be babysat and monitored. Doesn't mean I have to sit there and watch it. I can work, but every few hours I gotta check out and make sure the gun's running. There's the gun running. And if it's not, I gotta run the creek. What's the problem? Run out of water, the filter clog up, electrical surge. Who knows why it shuts off? I don't even get a report of why it shuts off sometimes. I just go down there and it's off. That sucks. So hopefully having the pond full of water and be able to pump out of the pond onto the fields will eliminate a lot of those issues. Hopefully, that's my plan. The downside, unfortunately, is it's a 3-phase PTO-driven generator, which is fantastic. I've got the 4450, which is a big tractor, and it'll run that power, and it'll create enough power to run a small city, no problem. But instead of me just plugging it into the power and paying an electric bill, which, two things, I don't have to pay that till the future, until I get the bill, and then I can kind of delay on that a little bit or pay payments on it, and I could take until halfway through the year or longer to pay it off. Because they know that they get outrageous during irrigation time. So they allow you to kind of pay them off a little bit, especially if you're working with them and making small payments. It's fantastic. So that's a benefit. So I don't have to have that money up front. So I have the money to buy twine and go through harvest. Well, here's the second part. Diesel. So when shit starts going sideways, I feel like farmers take it in the butt the first. And diesel, this time of year, right now, here, this country is outrageous. We're between $5 and $6 a gallon for diesel. Outrageous. It's like start doing good, start making some money on some hay sales and stuff like this, then boom, diesel goes way up. So I don't even know if I'm going to be able to afford to run that generator as much as I want to. I don't really want to put the hours on the tractor, but I really don't want to put the money through the diesel when I could just buy electricity. And electricity per gallon pumped is going to be cheaper than diesel. So the conundrum I'm in. Still gonna hook up the pond because long term, make this work, get the Stallbush Farms deal going and working, and get the figure. They're gonna bring the trucks out here and drop the stuff off. It's gonna take many loads to get it all filled back up, and then it working. So I'll be able to see if it works and play with it for the next few years. But the ultimate dream would be to figure out how to get 3-phase here. I kind of started this project before I knew it was so difficult. I'm like, oh, it can't be that hard because there's a power lines that are running, you know, through the barnyard, and they go all the way out over there to that other property. You can see a post there, and right back there. Do you guys see that post? Right, there's that post. It's hard to see, but I noticed there's only 2 wires running across the top of it, which means that cannot provide me with 3-phase or good 3-phase. I can get a 3-phase converter, not sure what it's called. I have a lot to learn about how to maybe get 3-phase off of that, but I don't think so. I think the right answer, or what's really gonna end up happening, is my creek where I pump, my irrigation pump is way down that way. It has nothing to do with these power lines. They come from the main line off the road because the creek is closer to the road, and it goes road, field, creek, my field, and then up here. So very expensive, I'm sure, but I probably have to go to the creek and then trench in 3-phase all the way up here if I want 3-phase this pond. If everything works well and the harvest goes well and the farm's doing good, that would be the right answer. It'd be nice to have 3-phase up here closer. You know, we could run other pumps and bigger things. If I have a bunch of space kind of around here, if we needed to set up a concrete pad and put a mill in of some sort, you know, in the wintertime we could be milling stuff. You know, if we get into grains or other harvest, it takes a larger mill. So there's the little update on the pond. I'm just going to show you when we get started knocking the blackberries down so we can kind of get access to that pond. And then hopefully in the next few weeks or whatever, we'll have everything hooked up and the generator working. The PTO's all rusted over and solid. So we're just gonna spend a bunch of time cleaning up these blackberries and getting them pushed back and getting it all clean. So when we are ready to start pumping, we're not fighting the blackberries and doing that. Plus, I think it's a good idea to stay on top of fighting the blackberries. You know, you ignore them for 10 years and it'll look like your property's never been lived on. They will take over, especially when you mow and you keep it all clean down like this, and then the blackberries start reaching out into there. They just start growing and growing and going crazy. So it's really important to keep them pushed back, and hopefully I'll be purchasing the farm here and having complete ownership of it in the next year or two, and I don't want to be far behind it. So I'm going to go ahead and burn my time and my diesel trying to upkeep and maintain this and do it. So here we go. So it's raining a lot more right now. And I'm a broke ass farmer that barely got a camera. So I don't want to ruin my camera in the rain, so I'm going to shut it off and take it out, and we'll just show you what we're doing when we're done. All right, I'm going to take you by the brush hog project, the pond. Not the brush hog, the telehandler. Started showing the other day, and then it started raining. I went ahead and finished it though in the rain. Just didn't want my camera to get wet, so I'll walk you out there now and we'll go look around and see how nice the pond. Oh man, look at that. I should have totally done it before of this because this is, couldn't even see it from here. So here we go. yeah, a lot of wildlife. And ducks and frogs, and I just saw something scurry off over there. I don't know what it is. Bugs are outrageous too. This whole thing was just lined with blackberries. All over there was just blackberries. You couldn't even see the pond. This is hard. Like this little island I'm at right here, this is all blackberries. There's a little path coming in here because this is where this is where the we hook up our irrigation to. So this is where I'm hoping to get access to. I think this is going to be the deepest part of the pond here, so I've been told. We're going to empty it and clean it out and find out. Probably going to take that far bank over there. I'm going to push it back up and use that dirt, and we'll bring that dirt over around in here. Because if you look, we're pretty much, that's the lowest point of the dirt. Everywhere else has got plenty of dirt. So I'm going to take the dirt from over there, which will just allow the pond to get bigger that way, and I'll take it and add it over here. That's kind of like in the next year or so project, but I figured getting it cleaned up and being able to look at it and admire it, not let the blackberries take it over, is great. The blackberries, what they do is they can grow really big. They get really big root systems, and they'll grow over like this entire bankment here on this side and over here, and they'll die. You know, over time they get so big they die, and the newer ones then they kind of reroot and take over. Well, when they die, they kind of leave like open hollows, and those hollows, if they're tapped through this whole thing, and water can, like, if it finds one and starts going through it, it can erode it all out. I don't find that really likely, but I've been told that by people who are professionals about these ponds. This used to be a manure pit, but now it's just kind of our own personal pond, and we're going to turn it into fertilizer storage because, well, we can, and I think that'll be awesome. So yeah, this is a fun project. I like it. Looks good.